What's up, guys? My name is Eldon, and today I am going to be doing a video. This video is going to be on my parents' Christmas presents, and I actually wanted to document this because I think it would be a nice thing just to have, and I actually want to do more YouTube videos. Like, I've bought a lot of stuff to be able to do traditional media and record it for YouTube and streaming purposes. But I digress. This video is going to be on my parents' Christmas presents. I've actually already completed one, and I will throw up a picture right here from my Instagram account of the finished picture. That one was of my mother. This one's going to be on my father. The next video will be on both of them together, which I think will be a nice three-piece of art. Each one is going to have like their own frame and everything, and I think it's going to be really neat and cute. I think they'll like it. Hopefully they'll like it. And yeah, let's start this video. Okay guys, to start this off, I started out with a circle off camera. I guess I forgot to draw to get the centering of where I want to place the head, and then I cut out the dimensions as you see here. Once those were cut out, I started to do the usual outlines of how I make a male face that is pretty older than what a kid is, like around the 20-ish kind of age range. Sorry for the camera autofocusing. I thought I turned it off, but apparently it reinstated itself somehow. But yes, I am just going through and doing the outlines and editing editing the face to make it look better, more presentable. As like any other of my manga characters, I did the underlying shadow like in traditional manga, and just did the little scratches or the little hashing or whatever it's called. It's not really hashing, it's more diagonal sketch dashes that I do. When I drew the collarbone, even though, as you'll see later, that I erased it, I just like drawing out the muscles and other things as such, just to have them there so I can visualize what the clothes would look like over them, and then I go through and erase it later on. Next, I started out with the face. With the face, I did the nose a little bit differently than how I usually do my noses, just because I wanted to try it out. It didn't turn out bad, but it's not the style I like drawing in, so I probably won't do it other than outside of this picture. Next, I looked at the reference photo and then exaggerated the eyes so that it fit more the anime manga style, which I believe turned out pretty well. For the eyebrows, I just drew the eyebrows on how they actually looked in the picture. So it's not like some random eyebrows, those are the eyebrows and how they actually look. Next, I started doing the facial hair, and the facial hair is a little bit tricky because I'm not used to doing facial hair on characters. Even though some of the characters that I do draw have facial hair, I'm still not entirely used to it. Next, I started on the little fro, as you can see, and then just kept on going. I did some editing to make the picture stand out, some more line work to make it more weighted and look more interesting than just having the same amount of weight throughout the entire picture, which is key to making a inking slash mostly black and white kind of picture more interesting. But I do go back and color it, so it gives it its values. As you can see, I'm just doing some touch-ups to make sure that it looks pretty good. As you see, as I stated before, I am going in and drawing the clothing.
and erasing what was underneath the clothing. I only do those as guidelines to see what the body is going to look like, because I like to do that. It's not a necessary step, it just is something that I'm comfortable with doing. I'm just going over the glasses to make it more. So now I'm on to the inking. But inking, I usually use my dip pen and do inking like that. But because this is a smaller piece and I didn't want to sit there using my dip pen or G pen, I use my Micron pens, which I actually really love. They're my favorite pens to ink with other than the dip pen. And they are really good for just some nice crisp lines. As I stated before, doing heaviness on different areas of the picture makes the line work more interesting. So you'll see me going over certain spots again and again, making the line thicker to make it more interesting to look at. I don't have any specific method of where I start and where I finish when I'm doing inking. I just go with whatever I notice and want to do first, and whatever it would, and then I keep on going back and forth after a while to keep on seeing what could use more touch-ups and edits. The part that I just did, the undershadow, I do just long consistent strokes so that when I get to another section it doesn't look all weird, since it's all diagonal at the same angle, and then it's all a consistent line and not just like what's it called, little check marks or whatever it's called. So where you do multiple lines to complete one line, I just do one solid flow line. Here I did outline of the beard. It just decided that instead of having like all the little patches or like the little lines, I would later fill it in. For my eyes, I tend to make the top eyelash more prominent and darker than what it usually is. It's just my style, and then I just do like a little line underneath the eyes just to give it that roundish, ovalish look. As you see, I'm going back and doing the glasses, and then I also go back and do some touch-ups and make some certain lines heavier than others. And again, by heavy I mean I'm making it more bolder, or I will go in with my gel pen and then make it softer or thinner Right now I am using a paintbrush actually and dipping it in my dip ink, or let me see what type of ink this is called. My black ink by Take or Zig Cartoonist, because I like having that flow of ink instead of using a marker, because when you use a marker sometimes it doesn't look as nice. So with a brush I will take I'll dip the brush in and then I'll go in a certain movement, like the same flow throughout the entire piece, and then if I have a bit more ink in one area, I will use that ink and just spread it over to places I already covered to thin it out, to make it so that it's not too heavy in one area, because if it's too heavy in one area it can ruin the entire picture and cause some like shine and unnecessary things. Right now I'm just doing some more touch-ups to make it look better. I'm going back in with a micron because you don't notice subtle touch-ups with the dipping if you do it at the end, but if you use like micron and dipping for like big portions, you can see a subtle difference. Just erasing and then going through with the gel pen to do some touch-ups.
There's one downside about living in the center of the UK. It's the highest rate of radiation.
So onto the coloring. I'm gonna admit right now I'm not the best at coloring, and what I did here was do a copy and then printed out the copy and then do the coloring on here. I know that doing the coloring on the original paper, which is actually Bristol board, would be better for these markers, but I don't like going over the original piece with like markers or anything. I like keeping the original pieces as is. Alright, now I'm doing one coat of brown. The marker that I used is actually the E37 Sepia marker. So after I did one coat, I went in another direction with another coat, which you see makes it actually darker. And even though it made it darker, I still like how it's turning out. This gives it the more flattened look without seeing much noticeable lines. I'm now going over with my gel pen to erase or hide all the places where the ink actually spread throughout the paper, because again, this is just regular computer paper, and then if you use something like an oil-based kind of paper, it will spread to different areas if you put it too heavily. Now I'm going through and doing highlights on the face and the neck to make it pop out more. If you look at the nose closely, you'll see that I did a little check mark kind of thing. I go and fix that later, because I usually don't do that in anything. I just kind of did that on a whim, and it turned out I did not like it. Right now I chose a darker color to do his shirt, so it makes the skin look a little bit brighter than what it actually is. It makes it pop more. And I go through with the gel pen and do the same thing like I did in the skin, and do some highlights and do some touch-ups to where the color of the clothing leads off to the paper. So later on you'll see that I actually take away some of the highlights with just going back over it with the Copic marker, because it was too much and it kind of just stood out weirdly. And then I go back over with the micron after I color it with the Copic. So for the eyes, it's the same thing as the skin. Do one way, do it, and then go back through after it dries a little bit and do it another way to get it darker and more of a solid color. And because he actually has darker eyes, I wanted to be darker than the skin, or slightly darker than the skin. I did some little dash highlights in his eyes to make it more soulful, like he's alive. And yeah, right here is where I am actually fixing the nose. And I did a little forehead shine, as you see too, just because he has a shiny forehead most of the time. So for this, I took the original piece and just traced around it because the original piece had the dimensions I already needed. And after I traced it, I had cut it out. Once I had finished cutting out the piece, I noticed that it wasn't that perfect, and I went and filled in the rest and then signed it. I'll now throw up a final picture of what it turns out. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe for more future videos. This is Elden signing off, saying peace.